Welcome, sleepy soul. Tonight I am your storyteller, your guide through shadows and whispers. Here in the dark corners of imagination, every creak, every shadow, and every whisper has a story to tell. Welcome to Creepytalks, where the night never ends and the tales are waiting for you. Story 1, The Whispering Room. At exactly 2:17 a.m., my phone vibrated beside my bed. I was half asleep when I glanced at the screen. Unknown number. The message read, "Don't open the door. It learns your voice." I stared at it for several seconds, my eyes still heavy. A prank, I thought. Some idiot texting random numbers at night. I typed back, "Who is this?" There was no reply. Almost immediately, the hallway lights outside my apartment flickered once, twice, and then went still. That was the moment I felt it. That quiet wasn't normal. I lived alone in Ashwood Heights, an old apartment complex on the outskirts of the city. The kind of building where sound echoed too much and silence felt like it was watching you. People moved in and out quickly. Nobody stayed long. Especially not on my floor, especially not near room 613. That room had been sealed for years. At least that's what the management said. Renovation, structural issues, paperwork excuses. But everyone knew the truth. Nobody survived that room for long. Sometime after 3 a.m., I heard a sound that didn't belong. A knock, not on my door, from the wall beside my bed. Slow, gentle, careful, like something was trying not to scare me. I held my breath, staring at the darkness. The knock stopped. Then came a whisper. It wasn't loud, it wasn't clear, but it felt like it wasn't traveling through the air. It felt like it was inside my skull. "Open!" My heart began to pound so violently, I thought it would wake the whole building. I didn't move. I didn't respond. I didn't even blink. The whisper faded. Silence returned. The next morning, I checked the hallway security footage. I needed proof that I wasn't losing my mind. At 2:58 a.m., the hallway was empty. At 3:01 a.m., the lights flickered. At 3:02 a.m., someone appeared outside room 613. They weren't facing the hallway. They were facing the wall. Their neck was twisted completely backward, eyes locked directly onto the camera. Their mouth was stretched into a smile so wide it looked painful. At 3:03 a.m., the figure lifted its hand and knocked on my wall. That night, another message arrived. Same number. "It heard you typing." Before I could react, my phone started recording a voice message by itself. I wasn't touching it. The waveform moved anyway. Someone was whispering, using my voice. "Open the door. I know you're lonely." I threw the phone across the room. A second later, there was a knock, this time on my door. A piece of paper slid underneath it. Old, yellowed, written by someone whose hands must have been shaking. It listed rules. Rules for surviving room 613. I didn't even finish reading them before the knock came again. Only once. The paper said that if it knocks once, you run, so I ran. I tore open my door and sprinted into the hallway. Room 613's door was wide open. Darkness spilled out like smoke, thick and alive. Whispers poured from inside. Dozens of voices overlapping, repeating the same words. "Come back." The lights shut off. Something brushed against my arm. Cold, wet, breathing directly into my ear. Too late. When the lights came back on, I wasn't in the hallway anymore. I was standing inside room 613. The door slammed shut behind me. Names were carved into every wall, hundreds of them, some so deep that the concrete beneath was exposed. At the center of the room, something tall stood in the corner, perfectly still. It spoke, in my mother's voice. "Why did you leave me here?" Slowly, it turned around. Story 2. The Whispering Room. The thing in the corner did not walk toward me. It didn't need to. The moment it turned its face, the room felt smaller, as if the walls had moved closer without making a sound. Its body was too tall for the ceiling, bent at an unnatural angle, like it had learned how to stand by watching humans from a distance. Its face looked familiar and wrong at the same time. The eyes were my mother's, but empty, like they were only copies. The mouth smiled, but the smile didn't belong to any emotion I recognized. "Why did you leave me here?" it asked again. I tried to speak, but my throat locked. The air felt thick, heavy, like breathing through wet cloth. The lights above flickered, and for a brief second, the room changed. I was no longer in room 613. I was standing in my childhood bedroom. The same cracked ceiling, the same old desk, even the same smell of dust and faded memories. My mother stood in front of me, alive, warm, real. She smiled the way she used to when I was scared as a child. "You always run," she said softly. "You did it then. You're doing it now." The walls began to bleed. Dark stains spread outward, soaking through the wallpaper, crawling toward my feet. Her smile didn't fade. "I died alone," she whispered, "just like you're about to." The illusion shattered. I was back in room 613, on my knees, gasping for air. The thing was closer now. I hadn't seen it move, but it was standing only a few steps away. Its shadow stretched across the floor, long and twisted, filled with moving shapes inside it. Faces, screaming silently. The names on the walls began to glow faintly. I recognized some of them. Neighbors, tenants, people I had seen in the elevator, in the hallway, people who had vanished without explanation. Their names weren't carved randomly. They were arranged in circles, spiraling inward toward the corner where the thing stood. This room wasn't just killing people, it was collecting them. The creature tilted its head slowly, studying my expression. Its mouth opened wider than before, stretching past what skin should allow. "You hear them now," it said. "That means the room likes you." A sudden pressure slammed into my chest, and I was thrown backward against the wall. Something invisible wrapped around my wrists and ankles, pinning me in place. The whispers grew louder, overlapping, clawing into my mind. Regret, fear, guilt. Every thought I had ever tried to bury was dragged out into the open. "You fed me for years," the creature whispered. "Every night you blamed yourself. Every time you remembered her voice." I grew strong on that. The wall behind me began to change. The concrete softened, pulsing like living flesh. Faces pushed outward from it, mouths open in silent screams. One face broke through more than the others. It was mine, older, hollow, eyes begging me not to become it. The room wanted me to see my future. A sudden sound cut through the whispers. A phone notification. My phone lay cracked on the floor near the door. The screen lit up. A new message. Same unknown number. "Don't let it finish the sentence." The creature froze. For the first time, its smile twitched. "What did you hear?" it asked, its voice no longer calm. I realized something then. It didn't know everything. It could copy voices. It could dig through memories. But it couldn't read my phone. The whispers grew angry. The walls trembled. The creature stepped closer, towering over me, its face inches from mine. "Say her name," it demanded. "Say it, and I'll let you rest. I closed my eyes. The message echoed in my mind. Don't let it finish the sentence. I opened my mouth and screamed. Not a name, not a word, but a raw, broken sound filled with everything I had been holding inside for years. The creature recoiled. The room screamed with it. Cracks split across the walls. The carved names bled fresh red lines. The faces inside the shadows twisted in agony. The invisible grip around my body loosened, just enough. I tore myself free and ran toward the door. Behind me, the creature's voice changed. It was no longer my mother's. It was something ancient, hungry. You can't leave, it roared. You're already inside me. I reached the door and grabbed the handle. It was warm, breathing, and the whisper returned, softer than ever, right against my ear. If you open it, you belong to me forever. Story 3. The Whispering Room. My hand froze on the door handle. It wasn't just warm, it pulsed, slowly, rhythmically, like a living thing breathing on the other side. The whisper pressed deeper into my mind, no longer coming from one direction. It came from the walls, the floor, my own chest. You opened it once before, it murmured. You just don't remember. The room began to shift. The carved names on the wall started to peel away, lifting from the concrete like strips of skin. Behind them were memories that didn't belong to me. People crying in the dark, begging unseen things for mercy, promising anything if they were allowed to leave. Then the room showed me the truth, not as a vision, as a memory. I was standing in the hallway years ago, holding a key card with 613 printed on it. The building looked newer, cleaner. My hands were shaking. Someone was crying behind me. A woman, my mother. She wasn't dead yet. She was sick, weak, terrified. The management had told me this room was part of a treatment study, a place where grief could be transferred, where pain could be contained instead of lived with. They said the room fed on suffering so people outside it could heal. They lied. I watched myself open the door. I watched myself lead her inside. She realized too late. Her screams became whispers, and the door closed. The memory shattered, and I collapsed to the floor of room 613, vomiting, sobbing, choking on the weight of what I had done. The creature stood over me, no longer pretending to be human. Its shape melted and reformed, a towering mass of shadow stitched together from broken faces. Arms grew and dissolved. Mouths opened where there should have been none. Every face wore the same expression: betrayal. You gave her to me, it said. You fed me love. That is the sweetest thing. The room pulsed violently now. The floor cracked open, revealing darkness beneath, endless and breathing. I could hear the others clearly, not whispers anymore. They were screaming. You don't kill, the creature continued. You preserve. I keep them thinking, remembering, forever. The door across the room appeared again, but it looked different now. Older, cracked, covered in handprints layered over each other. An exit, or another lie. The phone buzzed again in my pocket. The screen was spiderwebbed, but the message was clear. The room needs a replacement, or it collapses. I understood then. This place was a parasite. It needed one consciousness at the center to anchor it. One mind filled with regret strong enough to hold all the others together. That had been my mother. Now it wanted me back. The creature stepped aside, revealing the corner completely. The shadows there peeled away, and I saw what the room truly was: a living knot of human minds, twisted together, fused into the walls, the ceiling, the floor. They weren't ghosts. They were still alive, aware, trapped in endless loops of memory and guilt. The creature wasn't separate from them. It was their hunger. "You can end it," the creature said softly. "Stay. Take her place. Let the room sleep." The floor beneath me began to crumble. If the room collapsed, everyone inside it would vanish, screaming, aware, terrified, forever, including my mother. I staggered toward the corner. Every step felt like walking into my own grave. The whispers softened, becoming almost gentle. "Come home." I stood inches from the shadows. Then I noticed something wrong. One of the voices didn't belong. It wasn't afraid. It was laughing. A voice from behind the wall spoke clearly for the first time. "She lied to you." The creature stiffened. The shadows trembled. The voice continued. "She wasn't the first sacrifice. She wasn't even meant to be." The walls cracked wider, and something began to push back. Something the room was afraid of. Story 4. The Whispering Room. The laughter behind the wall grew louder. It wasn't mocking. It was calm, confident. The shadows in the corner twisted violently, shrinking back as if something deeper inside the room had suddenly woken up. The creature staggered, its many mouths opening at once, screaming without sound. "No!" it hissed. "You don't belong here!" The wall behind me split open, not like concrete breaking, but like skin tearing. From inside, a figure stepped out, human, alive, uninjured, smiling. He wore a maintenance uniform, clean and untouched by time, as if years meant nothing to him. His eyes were sharp, observant, and completely empty of guilt. "I was wondering when you'd remember," he said, looking directly at me. "You always do." Eventually, the room shook violently. The trapped voices screamed his name, not in fear, in hatred. He explained it slowly, like a teacher speaking to a slow student. Room 613 wasn't an accident. It was an experiment designed decades ago. The building was constructed around it, not the other way around. The room didn't feed on suffering naturally. It had been trained, conditioned. People like him learned how to shape grief, sharpen guilt, and turn love into an anchor strong enough to trap human minds indefinitely. The creature wasn't a demon. It was a byproduct, a symptom. "I don't need to stay here," he said casually. "I just need someone to believe the lie. Someone who thinks they deserve to suffer." He looked at me. "And you were perfect." The room began collapsing inward now. Without a stable anchor, the minds inside it were tearing each other apart. Faces screamed from the walls, begging me not to listen to him. My mother's voice cut through the chaos. "Please," she cried, "end it." The man stepped back toward the opening in the wall. "There's still a choice," he said. "Stay and hold them together, or walk out and let them fade." The exit behind him led to the hallway. Freedom, silence, life. The creature lunged at him, but he passed through it like smoke. It wasn't real to him anymore. I understood then. The room only had power over those who felt guilt. And I did. I stepped toward the corner. The shadows welcomed me. The screams softened. The pain became distant. I felt myself stretching, thinning, dissolving into the walls. Memories that weren't mine flooded in. Every regret, every fear, every final thought of the trapped souls. The room stabilized. The man watched from the doorway, satisfied. "Thank you," he said. "You saved a lot of work." The door closed. Time stopped. Or maybe it just stopped meaning anything. Years later, a new tenant moved into Ashwood Heights. A young woman, alone, broken. At 2:17 a.m., her phone vibrated, unknown number. "Don't open the door, it learns your voice." She read the message and smiled nervously. In room 613, I felt her fear, and for the first time, I whispered,